Hello there, and welcome to part 1 of the Sailing Skill Development blog. I'm your host Gnome, and today we'll be discussing how navigation works within the sailing skill. But first, let's review where we are in the skill development cycle. Back in December, players voted overwhelmingly to add a new skill to the game. We then gave our feedback on what that skill should look like before 3 options were presented and polled, out of which sailing came on top. Now we're in stage 4, Refinement, where we pinpoint the specifics of sailing and hear the old school team's proposals before we head to the final poll in stage 5. So over the next few months of Refinement, we'll be walking through 4 major topics: navigation, the core gameplay loop, rewards, and lore/integration. But for today, let's focus on part 1, navigation. Where are you sailing? What do ships look like? How are they controlled? And where is your character? To answer these, let's dive into the old school team's navigation proposal. Let's start by establishing some absolute basics. Sailing takes place in the main game world. It will not be instanced, so everyone plays together on the currently existing land and ocean. You'll debark from ports and other mooring points on full-scale ships, ranging from small single-crew vessels to massive multi-crew galleons. Your ship moves by regular point-and-click mechanisms, while the boat itself is walkable ground, allowing your player character to move independently from the movement of the vessel. So let's break down each of these points. First, the community has emphasized the need for sailing to feel like a real part of the game world. While many activities and mini-games hide their gameplay behind instances or in tightly restricted areas, as a skill, sailing should feel integrated into the rest of Gielinor, so you'll be sharing the same seas with other boats and even be able to interact with other players on shore. Similarly, even while your vessel is moving, you'll be able to walk about, lay back, or skill as you please, giving you the same level of freedom that you have everywhere else in Gielinor. To start sailing, you'll go to the nearest port or other mooring point, and simply hop on your vessel to take off. The ships you'll sail come in 3 broad categories: small, large, and colossal. Small vessels are built primarily for solo experiences and as an overall introduction to sailing. They are fast and function best in shallow waters near islands and landmasses, but are limited in how many facilities can be installed, like fishing nets, cannons, or additional storage compartments. Large ships are specialized for open seas and have greater room for such improvements, but move slower. Colossal ships are complex vessels that are slow to move and can only sail in open or deep waters. However, they are well suited for large crews, including other players, and have the most room for better facilities. Repairing, applying cosmetics, and building your ship's facilities will be possible at major ports with the appropriate material and skills. Now, to move your ship about, the team has settled on the point-and-click system that you're already familiar with. While on your boat, selecting the wheel will bring you to navigation mode, where pointing and clicking anywhere on the sea will move your ship to that location. Clicking the wheel again exits navigation mode, and due to some fantastic engine work, will allow you to freely roam about your boat separately from the movement of your ship. While moving, you can expect your ship to behave a little differently than how it does on land by following a new pathing algorithm, like giving larger and heavier vessels a wider turning angle than smaller boats. On the topic of movement, will ship collision exist? Collision with the land and other objects at sea is expected, but such interactions will be safe unless you're sailing more advanced, hazardous zones. Ship-to-ship collision between players will also be avoided to prevent players from being too antagonistic towards each other. Nonetheless, it might be something to consider in, say, a PvP environment, where such competition is expected and valued. Similarly, the team's considering a potential upgrade that allows your ship to keep moving in a straight line past the last tile you've clicked. But to ensure this doesn't make all navigation feel completely foreign and unintuitive, this would be an entirely opt-in system. So those are the basics of the proposed navigation component, but what will sailing look like to a new sailor versus an experienced mariner? When you first jump onto the water, you'll only have a small ship unlocked. Small vessels are fast and more maneuverable, and push you to train in shallow areas where the seas are safe and easy to navigate. Because you won't have many facilities to manage, the beginner experience focuses on getting used to simply moving on water and interacting with the wind, a dynamic element which will help or hinder you if you're sailing for or against it. Once you hit mid-game, you'll unlock large ships, which opens up more facilities and therefore more things to manage on board. At the same time, navigating a large ship gets more complex as you move from the shallows to the open sea, where currents add to the wind to impact your movement, offering a chance to prove your prowess. Similarly, certain areas may only be available once you've reached the right sailing level or installed the right facility, like a reef that's too dangerous to cross until you've upgraded your hull, or a wild, stormy zone that tears your sails apart unless you've reinforced them. Finally, the late game sees you unlocking colossal ships, which specialize in deep waters where you'll find the hardest challenges the sea has to throw at you. With more and better facilities, colossal ships also offer the most diverse and engaging gameplay, and will let you fully explore and enjoy the breadth of Gielinór's oceans. And, of course, you'll never be forced to sail a particular type of ship. Instead, each class is intended to offer different experiences to suit the tastes of different players. For larger ships with more facilities to manage, you can even recruit other players or NPCs to help you sail, allowing for an efficient solo or group play at all levels. Now, those astute players among you probably have a million more questions on many of the nitty-gritty details of navigation, like how will quest-locked islands be handled, or how will the team go about adding new content to the ocean, or what will overlapping ships look like? For answers to these questions and more, see the full blog post in the description. Just remember that there are still many details to be ironed out. For example, the old school team is aware that draw distances need to be increased for sailing, particularly in the Java client, where the tech demos shown in this video were recorded. In the short term, both RuneLite and the C++ client on Steam and mobile offer the ability to increase draw distance. In the longer term, they are looking at what they can do to resolve this issue for the Java client specifically, which may include more advanced solutions. And so that brings us to the end of navigation, which is part 1 of the sailing development blog. Tune in a couple weeks to part 2, where we'll be diving into the core gameplay loop and discussing how exactly you train this skill.